Hello, everyone. This is Bible True Crime with Mr. Thoroughly. Today's episode, The Sibling Deception. Listener discretion is advised. This episode will involve rape. I'm Steve, and I have my wife Heidi with me today.
Hello?
Heidi, guess what I found on the internet the other day?
What?
I found out something about our fingers and our toes.
Okay.
Do you know that when they get all wrinkly in water, that they've found a reason why they think that is?
No. What's the purpose?
They say that if when your fingers get wrinkly in water, that you can pick up objects better when your hands are wet.
I wonder if your feet would be able to have more grip.
Yeah, because the same thing happens to your toes.
Yeah, so you wouldn't slide around or whatever.
Or you can pick up things with your toes.
Yeah, maybe for that.
Yeah, that's all extra information.
Okay.
And I found it on the internet. And so I actually went to look and check it out to see if it was true. And they really do think that that's what's going on with all that.
Well,
so,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So really, it wasn't a bad thing to stay in the bathtub for all that time when I was a little kid.
Yeah, it didn't do any harm. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I guess it seems like it would, though, huh? Like you'd stay like that. But no, it's just something that gives you a little extra grip. And like I've said other times, that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to be looking at some of David's family and some problems that happen. Now, David's going to do some things that we're not going to talk about today. Some of his sin is going to result in bad things that happen in his family, consequences to his sin. Even though he repents of his sin, there's going to be consequences. And part of that consequences is going to be some super bad things that happen in his family. And we're going to look at some of those super bad things today. And next week, we're going to try to continue this a little bit, though it's going to be a separate thing, but it's going to be what happens next.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to our story today.
Well, good, because you're my captive audience right now. Everybody else can stop it, but you got to sit here and listen to everything. We're going to look at 2 Samuel chapter 13. And I am just going to start reading there. Now, just to introduce you to some of the characters here, before we start reading, you have two of David's sons. And the first one his name is Amnon. And I believe he is the first son of David. And then you have, I think he's the sixth son, and his name is Absalom. And we will get to him. They have different mothers because David has multiple wives. Absalom also has a sister, Tamar. Amnon is a half brother to Absalom and a half brother to Tamar.
But Tamar and Absalom are full-blooded brother and sister.
Yeah, they're full siblings or whatever. Just to set the stage for this situation here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start off in verse 1. And I'm just going to read the first 11 verses. After this, Absalom, the son of David, had a lovely sister whose name was Tamar. And Amnon, the son of David, loved her. Amnon was so distressed over his sister Tamar that he became sick, for she was a virgin, and it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother. Now Jonadab was a very crafty man. And he said to him, "Why are you, the king's son, becoming thinner day after day? Will you not tell me?" Amnon said to him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. So Jonadab said to him, lie down on your bed and pretend to be ill. And when your father comes to see you, say to him, please let my sister Tamar come and give me food, and prepare the food in my sight, that I may see it and eat it from her hand. Then Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill. And when the king came to see him, Amnon said to the king, please let Tamar, my sister, come and make a couple of cakes for me in my sight, that I may eat from her hand. And David sent home to Tamar, saying, now go to your brother Amnon's house and prepare food for him. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was lying down. Then she took flour and kneaded it, made cakes in his sight, and baked the cakes. And she took the pan and placed them out before him. But he refused to eat. Then Amnon said, have everyone go out from me. And then all went out from him. Then Amnon said to Tamar, bring the food into the bedroom, that I may eat from your hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them to Amnon her brother, in the bedroom. Now when she had brought them to him to eat, he took hold of her, and said to her, come, lie with me, my sister. So Amnon, he's in love with his sister Tamar. And nobody knows about it, except for this Jonadab finds out, because he's asking him why he's sick and all that. And then this Jonadab concocts this way that he can be with his sister. It sounds like his sister is really trusting of the whole situation, but he actually gets the king to send in his sister. And this is King David, and King David doesn't think anything's going on here. So he's like telling him, he tells Tamar, go in there and make him some cakes and help him out because he's sick. And so that's what Tamar does. And she doesn't seem to have any kind of resistance to any of this. She just is going along with it like it's some normal thing that a sister is going to help out her brother while he's sick. But then the tables kind of turn when Absalom gets her alone in the bedroom and then tells her to lie with him.
This whole situation seems so strange to me. I mean, it's hard to imagine a situation like that being normal. But part of it makes me think that David probably doesn't know his children very well. I guess that's just speculation, but just to know that the whole thing seems like, I don't know, just a strange setup.
At the same time, though, would you expect your children to do something like this, though?
Of course not.
Now, after it happens, you're like, how come I didn't see that coming?
For sure.
But before it, though, you just think there's no... I mean, even if somebody told you, hey, I think this is what's going on, you'd be like, no way that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
That couldn't be the situation. David, if he even slightly suspected that something like that could be possible, there's no way he's going to send Tamar to Amnon to help him out while he's sick.
Yeah. And I guess he was pretty trusting of his son and just trying to help him feel better or whatever. And so he sends Tamar in there.
Yeah. And of course, I don't want to get ahead here, but bad stuff's going to happen here. And it's going to lead to more bad stuff and a whole bunch of bad stuff. And next week, we'll see even more bad stuff that's going to come from all this. So we're kind of looking at a snowball that's building here as it's going down a hill. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as we go through this story, that's exactly what's going to happen. And I'd just like to say here that if you ever get advice from somebody named Jonadab, don't take it. Don't listen to Jonadabs. I don't know a Jonadab. If you know a Jonadab, might be a good person. I don't know. But this Jonadab, don't listen to him. He's got some bad advice. He's like, oh, so you want to sleep with your sister? I got an idea. Who has an idea for something like that?
From everything we know about David, is he's living a right life during this time?
Yeah, I mean, this is after he sinned with Bathsheba and had Uriah the Hittite killed, and he repented of all that. But he was told by Nathan the prophet that God said, he was going to punish him as a result of this. So he lost his firstborn son that he had with Bathsheba, and now he's going to have some family turmoil, and this is that family turmoil happening.
Okay.
As we read.
Okay.
So let's look at verses 12 here. But she answered him, no, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing should be done in Israel. Do not do this disgraceful thing. And where could I take my shame? And as for you, you would be like one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore, please speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you.
So do we get the idea then that it would have been lawful for David to give her in marriage, and that would have been an okay situation?
I have no idea, and I couldn't really find much on this, but if you're in her situation where you've got somebody that's trying to rape you, I think one of the things that happens quite a bit is that people try to tell their rapist anything that they can to get them to stop.
Yeah.
And so if she can convince him to just go talk to the king about this, then she's not going to get raped.
Right.
So she can stop that if he goes, oh, well, I'll go ask the king, And it could be that the king's going to say, are you crazy? No way. But if it stops her from getting raped, though, then it's a good attempt to divert this situation.
Yeah. Well, it seems like she really tries to appeal to him from all angles in, saying you don't want to be called a fool in all of Israel.
Yeah, and it's going to shame her.
For sure.
A lot of bad things. And she's saying, this is all bad. Nothing good going to happen here.
Yeah.
Just go talk to the king.
Yeah. And if he really did love her like he said that he did, then wouldn't he want to take care of her?
Yeah. Now, I've got more to say about that here in a second. But I will say this, though. There is lust and there is love. And many people confuse the two things. Let's see what happens here. So I'm on verse 14 of 2 Samuel chapter 13. However, he would not heed her voice, and being stronger than she, he forced her and lay with her. Then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, arise, be gone. So she said to him, no, indeed, this evil of sending me away is worse than the other that you did to me. But he would not listen to her. Then he called his servant who attended him and said, here, put this woman out, away from me, and bolt the door behind her. Now she had on a robe of many colors, for the king's virgin daughters wore such apparel. And his servant put her out and bolted the door behind her. So you see a big change here. First of all, he's going to rape her. But then he hates her. And his hate for her is more than the love that he had before her, which it was really a lust thing. But she didn't want to have anything to do with him. And that's the part that he couldn't take.
Right.
He goes along with the rape here because there was nothing consensual there. And I think because he raped her, he's mad at her. Like, I shouldn't have had to rape you. We could have done this. And I don't know what is going through his head here, though. But the fact that he can change from being so in love with her to hating her so much just shows that he really just lusted after her and that he didn't really care about her that much, because instantly he just hates her and pushes her out and doesn't want to have anything to do with her, completely disgraces her.
The language changes so drastically from, the love and calling her his sister. And, even though at the start of the chapter, the Bible calls her Absalom's sister, which I guess that might be a cultural thing to help us understand. But I mean, everybody's calling her his sister like it's a close family relationship. And then at the end there, when he's throwing her out, it's this woman.
Bad all around here.
Bad. Yeah.
No way to understand what's going through this guy's head. But let's see what happens to Tamar here. And this is what we're going to read here about Tamar. This is the last that we have of anything about her in the Bible, I think. So verse 19. Then Tamar put ashes on her head and tore her robe of many colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head and went away crying bitterly. And Absalom her brother said to her, Has Amnon your brother been with you? But now hold your peace, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this thing to heart. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother Absalom's house. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very angry. So it sounds like Tamar, she just, she kind of goes away in hiding and disgrace and lives in her brother Absalom's house. But Absalom, it's hard to read him here, but it'll be much easier as we go on here. But he's saying, don't say anything about this. Don't take this thing to heart. Almost like he's saying, just kind of forget about it for now. And King David, when he hears about it, he's very angry, but he doesn't do anything. And that's what's going to lead to what's going to happen next here.
Well, on the one hand, it's, Absalom is telling her to keep it quiet. But on the other hand, you see that she wasn't quiet. She tore her robe. She had ashes on her head and she cried. Yours said bitterly, and I think mine said loudly, crying aloud as she went. I'm glad that she didn't just go away quietly, and it at least did reach the king's ears because he knows about it. Maybe nobody outside their family knew. Yeah,
and then eventually though she does go away. That Absalom kind of hides her and protects her and stuff from everything that's going on. So you have the initial way that she's acting, and then you have where nobody knows what's happening with her because she's kind of hidden away by her brother. But her brother's actually plotting something, and that's what we'll get to here.
So in that culture, she would have then been unmarriable, right?
I am not sure.
Okay. Well, I guess that's just kind of what I read into that from her when she's trying to talk Amnon out of it because of the disgrace that it would put on her.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but it definitely doesn't mention anything about her marrying. Well, let's see what happens next here. So, verse 22. And Absalom spoke to his brother Amnon neither good nor bad, for Absalom hated Amnon because he had forced his sister Tamar. And it came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal Hazor, which is near Ephraim. So Absalom invited all the king's sons. Then Absalom came to the king and said, "Kindly note, your servant has sheep shearers. Please let the king and his servants go with your servant." But the king said to Absalom, "No, my son, let us not all go now, lest we be a burden to you." Then he urged him, but he would not go, and he blessed him. Then Absalom said, "If not, please let my brother Amnon go with us." And the king said to him, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom urged him, so he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. One thing that is kind of strange here for us, and I don't know if somebody's got a bunch of sheep, maybe this is a big thing, but when it came time to shear the sheep, it was a big celebration. It was kind of like the harvest of the sheep. Whenever this would happen, how often that would happen, they had a big celebration. So he's saying, I've got the sheep shearers and all this stuff, and come out and celebrate with us. And King David says, that's going to be too much for you if everybody comes. But he is able to convince him just to send his brothers, and Amnon in particular is mentioned. Now this is 2 years later. So Absalom waited this thing out. He plotted and he planned for this to happen, to where David might not have seen the connection any longer because it's been 2 years.
And yet he does question it. He seems a little bit suspicious.
Yeah, he is resistant to it.
It makes me mad at David, though, because where's he been the last 2 years?
And then you look at it with David, he wouldn't have ever suspected that Amnon would rape his sister Tamar. But he's also not going to suspect that his son Absalom is going to harm his brother Amnon. But remember, Absalom hates Amnon. So now he's got Amnon coming to his house. So let's see what happens here next. So verse 28. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, "Watch now, when Amnon's heart is merry with wine. And when I say to you, strike Amnon, then kill him. Do not be afraid. Have I not commanded you? Be courageous and valiant." So the servants of Absalom did to Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and each one got on his mule and fled. And it came to pass, while they were on the way, that news came to David, saying, "Absalom has killed all the king's sons, and not one of them is left." So the king arose and tore his garments and lay on the ground, and all his servants stood by with their clothes torn. Then Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother, answered and said, "Let not my lord suppose they have killed all the young men, the king's sons, for only Amnon is dead. For by the command of Absalom, this has been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore, let not my lord the king take this thing to heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for only Amnon is dead."
Well, I guess it's good that all the sons aren't dead, but it just seems strange to say, don't take it to heart. Kind of like it was strange when Absalom said that very same phrase to Tamar.
It's interesting, the one reporting this, though, is that Jonadab.
Yeah.
He's the mastermind behind the rape situation, and now he's the one telling David, don't worry, not all your sons have been killed, because that was the first report, that Absalom killed all the other sons.
Yeah.
Which is something that we already saw back in the Judges with the sons of Gideon. You had the one son that tried to kill all the other sons But he didn't get one of them, though. But none of that really mattered, though. But it was one of those things where you try to get any rival from the throne, and maybe that was the situation. But it sounds like from this Jonadab, he's saying that this was in the plan of Absalom. It had been determined the day that he raped his sister that this is what the final solution to it was going to be, that he was going to kill Amnon.
Do we think that really was the plan the whole time? That Jonadab was in on the plan? Was he just saying that out of his loyalty to Amnon?
I think anything that we'd say would be speculation.
Well, yeah.
We really wouldn't know. But even if nobody suspected it for those 2 years, once it happens, then you know Absalom couldn't let go of this.
Yeah.
He hated him. And so because he kills him 2 years later, it just kind of shows that he'd wanted to do that the entire time.
Yeah.
But it would have been hard to get near to Amnon immediately after this happened, because Amnon would have had his guard up saying, I raped my sister, and my brother is not going to be happy with that, so I'm going to steer clear of him. But 2 years later, it was different.
Yeah. And it's interesting to think about the kind of hate that festers that long, what that will do to you. Not that what Amnon did was okay, but his reaction isn't okay either.
Yeah.
And how terrible for David. And yet he could have stepped in and done something.
Yeah, but he didn't. And it might just be because he was thinking, I sinned too.
Yeah.
I'm a wretch myself. But he also knows that God had told him he was going to have these problems in his family.
Yeah.
So, and it was a consequence. So it's kind of like, this is all my fault. It's the way David might look at it, no matter what happens here.
Right.
But he is going to get angry towards Absalom. Absalom's going to flee and go live somewhere else. And next week, we're going to see the rest of the story when it comes to Absalom and what happens, though. But I didn't want to do this as a part 1, part 2. So both of these stories stand on their own, but this one gives you a little bit of background to the next story, though.
Well, today's story was pretty heavy. Do you have something a little lighter you can leave us with?
Let's read 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 21. For prophecy never came by the will of man, but holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. All Scripture is taken from the New King James Version, the New American Standard Bible, or the English Standard Version.
Thank you for listening today. We need your help to be sure you don't miss any episodes. Click on follow or subscribe. Be sure to share it with your friends and join us again next time for more Bible True Crime.